It was an ordinary evening for Daniel Harper, a simple farmer in the small town of Cedar Creek. His days were filled with the smell of freshly plowed earth, the sound of his tractor humming through endless fields, and the quiet peace that came with working the land. The town was quiet, far removed from the busy hustle of the city. Daniel lived a simple life. He loved his work, his family, and the solitude that came with it. That evening, however, things were different. The sky had begun to darken earlier than usual. A storm was rolling in, thick clouds swirling as the wind picked up. But as Daniel walked back to his barn after a long day of work, he noticed something unusual, a low-flying plane in distress. The sound of the engine sputtered as it circled over his property, clearly struggling to stay airborne. Without a second thought, Daniel grabbed his walkie-talkie and tried reaching out to the nearest airport for help, but there was no response. The storm had already knocked out power, and the only thing he could do was act quickly. The plane made a wide turn, almost dipping lower to the ground, and Daniel knew that the pilot was in trouble. He didn't think twice. Grabbing his keys, he ran to his old pickup truck and sped toward the open field. As the plane's engine sputtered once again, it made a sharp descent, coming to land awkwardly in the clearing near his barn. Daniel rushed out of the truck and ran toward the plane, the storm now in full force. As he approached, he saw the pilot's face through the cockpit window. The man looked young, his face pale with fear. "I can't believe I made it down here," the pilot exclaimed as Daniel rushed over. "You're safe now. Let's get you out of here before the storm gets worse," Daniel said, his voice calm but urgent. The pilot nodded, still shaking, and with Daniel's help, he climbed out of the plane. His uniform, a military one, caught Daniel's eye, but he didn't think much of it. The storm was getting worse, and the pilot needed shelter. Without hesitating, Daniel led him into the barn, where he made sure the man was warm and dry, offering him a hot cup of coffee. The pilot thanked him repeatedly, but his eyes remained wide with confusion. "I don't know what I would have done without you. You saved my life." Daniel smiled humbly. "It's nothing, just doing what any decent person would do." That night, as the storm raged outside, the two men spoke briefly before Daniel headed to bed. The pilot's story was simple. He had gotten lost during a routine flight and had barely managed to stay on course. His aircraft had run low on fuel, and the storm had made it even harder to navigate. But little did Daniel know, the small act of kindness he had shown that night would lead to a set of events he could never have imagined. The sound of the Black Hawk helicopter grew louder, shaking the ground beneath Daniel's feet. As it touched down in the clearing next to his barn, the heavy thud reverberated through the air, and for a moment, Daniel thought his heart would stop. It wasn't every day that a military helicopter landed in your yard. A thick cloud of dust followed the helicopter's landing, making the whole scene look surreal, as though the whole world had been turned upside down in the space of a few moments. Daniel wiped his hands on his worn jeans, still trying to process what was happening. His farm, his peaceful routine, and his simple life were now at the center of a storm. He looked around, trying to gather his thoughts, but before he could do so, a voice from behind him startled him. "You, Harper?" the voice barked. Turning around quickly, Daniel saw a man in military gear, his face hard as stone, walking toward him. Behind him, a few other soldiers emerged from the helicopter, all dressed in similar tactical gear, eyes scanning the area as if on high alert. The man in the front looked at him with a seriousness that Daniel had never seen before. "Yeah, that's me," Daniel replied, still feeling the weight of the moment. His eyes instinctively darted over to the helicopter, then back to the soldier in front of him. The man's expression didn't soften. "We need to talk to you about the man you helped last night." "The pilot," the soldier said, his voice deep and unwavering. "Where is he?" Daniel blinked, trying to make sense of the situation. "He's in the barn. He's been sleeping. What's going on?" "I just helped him out. His plane was going down in the storm." The soldier's jaw tightened, and he glanced over his shoulder at his team. "You don't understand. That pilot is involved in a classified operation. You've made a mistake by helping him." Daniel's pulse quickened. He felt a surge of confusion. "A mistake? I'm just a farmer. I don't know anything about classified operations or any of that. I just saw a guy who needed help, and I helped him. What's going on?" The soldier took a deep breath, his eyes never leaving Daniel's. "That guy is a covert operative working for the government. His mission is classified. What you did last night has put us all in a very difficult situation. We're going to need your full cooperation. Daniel felt his knees weaken, and for a moment he considered just walking away from it all. But something in the soldier's eyes told him that wasn't an option. This wasn't a situation he could escape from. This was real. His life was about to change forever, and there was no way back. "Follow me," the soldier ordered. Daniel's heart raced as he followed the group toward the barn. He felt as though he were walking in a dream, like his actions no longer belonged to him. The helicopter, the military personnel, and now the secrets they were hiding. They were all too much for him to comprehend. As he stepped into the barn, he saw the pilot, still in his military uniform, looking disoriented but safe, sitting on a stack of hay. His eyes met Daniel's, but they were different now. Gone was the grateful expression from the night before. In its place was an emotion Daniel couldn't quite place. Guilt, maybe? Or fear? Either way, the pilot didn't look like the man he had helped. This was someone entirely different. The soldier, still standing behind Daniel, spoke again. "This is Special Agent Jameson. He'll explain everything to you." He nodded toward the pilot, who now stood up slowly, his face filled with regret. "We'll need to debrief you both." "Debrief? I don't know what any of this means," Daniel protested, his voice rising. "I didn't sign up for any of this. I just helped a guy in trouble." Agent Jameson held up his hand. "I know you didn't intend for this, but you need to understand. What you did was more than just helping someone. By providing aid to a classified operative, you've interfered with a national security operation. There are consequences to that. We can't just pretend it didn't happen." The words hit Daniel like a freight train. He felt trapped, unsure of what to do next. His mind raced. A farmer, a simple man with a simple life, suddenly thrust into a world of military secrecy and danger. What could he possibly offer in this situation? All he wanted was to go back to his farm and forget this nightmare ever happened. "We need you to stay calm and follow our instructions," Agent Jameson continued, his voice steady, though the tension in the air was palpable. "There are things we need to sort out. The plane you helped the pilot with? It wasn't just any plane. It was carrying sensitive equipment that could compromise national security. By helping him, you've inadvertently become involved in something much larger than you realize." Daniel felt the room closing in on him. This was all too much. He had just helped someone, and now his life was in chaos. The storm had led him to this moment,